nurse at the Minneapolis VA. He was an avid outdoorsman, a U.S. citizen. He was an incredibly compassionate. So she's right now describing the late Alex Pretty. Passionate person who cared for others countlessly. This is what he appeared to be doing just before being murdered, protecting another observer that was being attacked by ICE agents. Alex's murder by federal agents was not accidental or isolated. We witnessed this during the murder of Renee Good by federal agents. ICE's reckless and lawless actions have taken a mother from 3 children. This is courtesy of USA Today. Again, courtesy of USA Today. A partner from a wife and inflicted unfathomable pain on our community. Similar to Alex and Renee, they were exercising their First Amendment right, an act that this administration has deemed a capital offense. Renee Good should be alive. Alex Pretty should still be alive. Please, let's take a moment of silence for Alex and Renee. Thank you. My deepest condolences go out to Alex and Renee's family, friends, and everyone who knew and loved them. We will not stop fighting until we achieve real justice and accountability. The level of violence, federal overreach, law. Now, the screen right now is just on Ilhan Omar, but I'm looking at the individuals in this audience, especially the one who's doing some hand gestures. It may not mean anything, but sorry for being anal. I've just been trained to look at certain things and behaviors. Right there. Just pay attention. Okay. Continue. Lawlessness carried out in the name of immigration enforcement is unprecedented. U.S. citizens are being assaulted and detained. Minnesotans are expected to carry their citizenship papers. People are dying in ICE custody. This administration has reduced any. And you see this guy in the back. Process sending people out of state to prevent them from having legal representation. Doors are being broken down without judicial warrants. Chemical irritants, pepper balls, flashbangs are being used without a second thought. DHS. She just said chemical elements. Look at this gentleman here. Again, I'm not implying or accusing anything. I'm just looking at it right now, along with anyone else. Is thriving in secrecy, obscuring the conditions my constituents are being held in. This is not the America we know, not the America we love. Every Minnesotan has a right to feel safe and welcome. Earlier this month, I co-led a hearing with Representative Chaya Paul on Trump's deadly assault on Minnesota. This man just moved up a little bit. We welcome 27 members of Congress to hear from witnesses on what has been happening on the ground and raise the alarm. Trump and his paramilitary immigration enforcement will not get away with their unlawful attacks on our state. The Constitution is on our side, and we will fight every single day to defend it. Please pay attention. As it's been said, real justice and accountability starts with full, transparent investigation and legal action against ICE, followed by the abolishment of the agency. ICE cannot be reformed. It cannot be rehabilitated. We must abolish ICE for good. MPHS Secretary Kristi Noem must resign or face impeachment.
Pay attention. I'm going to replay that. But to me, there are a lot of hand gestures that appear to be going on. And you can go to you can begin at the 4-minute mark. Soon as she said, abolish, pay attention.
ICE cannot be reformed. It cannot be rehabilitated. We must abolish ICE for good. MPHS Secretary Kristi Noem must resign or face impeachment. I don't know. Oh my God, he's sprayed something on my face. I need a napkin to know nothing. No. You need to go get checked. No, we will continue this fucking asshole.
Excuse the language.
That's whatever this smells so bad. She needs to go get checked. I don't know what that was. It's not about him, Ilhan.
So that's the breaking news that I wanted to bring to you all's attention. Ilhan Omar was attacked by way of.
Thanks so much for joining me.
Hold on, let me get back to that video. While she was speaking, some rogue individual, he appeared to be under the influence of something or just, I don't know what was wrong with him, but she was apparently sprayed, allegedly sprayed with an unknown substance during our press conference. So again, this is the level of sick individuals that we had. Did you see or hear any type of violence that erupted when this man attacked her? Now, she has every right to feel the way that she does. However he feels, he has a right to an opinion. But to spray an unknown substance, and one of the individuals was heard to say that whatever it was had a very foul smell. Ilhan Omar continued with that press conference. I believe it was a half an hour. But again, this is the climate. This is the climate of what's going on. So again, at the center of tonight's broadcast is none other than DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. And she has been under fire. Now, I believe pressure indeed bursts pipes, and it's only going to be a matter of time. She's either going to be relieved of her position or step down. There's too much pressure. And pay attention, and you're honest with yourselves. Those of you that have the ability to be honest with yourselves, even Fox News is starting to back just a little bit. Oh yes, they're backing back a little bit, because no matter how you want to twist the narrative of what happened over the weekend, you can't do it. You can't do it. There's a paradigm shift, and prayers Trust me, and I pray every night are being answered. I told you. One by one, Lindsay Halligan, gone. Greg Bovino, he's been reassigned. But what does that really mean? We'll get into that later as well. Todd Lyons has been ordered to appear in court on Friday. Possibly for contempt charges now. I doubt if that will go through, but he has been summoned to answer personally some questions. So it does not look good. It appears from the lens of many that MAGA is slowly falling apart. So let's listen to Kristi, Noem.
How many United States military veterans have you deported?
Sir, we have not deported U.S. citizens or military veterans.
I don't believe you served in the military. I haven't either, but I think you and I can agree that as Americans, we owe everything to those who have served our country in uniform, particularly those who have served in combat. Do you agree with that?
Sir, I believe that people that are in this United States that are citizens have legal status here.
Madam Secretary, we are joined on Zoom by a gentleman named Se-Jun Park. He is a United States Army combat veteran who was shot twice while serving our country in Panama in 1989. Like many veterans, he struggled with PTSD and substance abuse after his service. He was arrested in the 1990s for some minor drug offenses, nothing serious. He never hurt anyone besides himself, and he's been clean and sober for 14 years. He is a combat veteran, a Purple Heart recipient. He has sacrificed more for this country than most people ever have. Earlier this year, you deported him to Korea, a country he hasn't lived in since he was 7 years old. Will you join me in thanking Mr. Park for his service to our country?
Sir, I'm grateful for every single person that has served our country and follows our laws.
Can you please tell Mr. Park why you deported him?
Every one of them needs to be enforced.
But you understand that many veterans struggle with PTSD, many veterans struggle with substance abuse challenges. This man took 2 bullets for our country. You have broad authority, by the way, as Secretary, to issue humanitarian parole, to do deferred action. Will you commit to at least looking at Mr. Park's case to see if you can help him find a pathway back to this country that he sacrificed so much for?
I will absolutely look at his case, but I want you
Thank
to
you.
remember that
Madam Secretary, the man
programs need to have
behind you,
integrity
please
as well.
stand up, sir. His name is Jim Brown from Troy, Missouri. He is a Navy combat veteran who served our country in the Gulf War. He's married to a woman named Donna, who came to our country legally from Ireland when she was 11 years old. She has lived here for 48 years. Because of you, Jim's wife Donna has been in prison for the last 4 months. She did not come here illegally, and she has never committed any crime other than writing 2 bad checks totaling $80 10 years ago. She is currently in prison and facing deportation. Ms. Noem, will you thank Mr. Brown for his service to our country?
Thank you, Mr. Brown, for your service to our country.
Now, what possible explanation can there be for locking up his wife for 4 months when she has committed no crime other than writing a couple of bad checks for $80?
Sir, it is not my prerogative, my latitude, or my job to pick and choose which laws in this country get enforced.
You have broad
and which ones
discretion
don't.
as the Secretary.
We need to follow
You can issue
the law
parole, you
and
can do all
enforce
kinds of
the
things,
laws.
but you're choosing not to. Will you commit, again, to just reviewing Donna's case and reuniting this combat veteran with his beloved wife, who also loves this country?
I will review the case.
Now, Madam Secretary, you've already heard the story of Lance Corporal Alejandro Barranco, the United States Marine veteran who is behind you, who also has 2 brothers who are United States Marines. Will you thank Lance Corporal Barranco for his service?
Thank you for your service.
His father, Narcisco Barranco, is a landscaper in California who has lived peacefully in our country for 30 years and has no criminal record. Last spring, while he was mowing the lawn at an IHOP, ICE agents tackled him in the street and imprisoned him for weeks. A peaceful, hard-working man who raised 3 sons to be United States Marines. We need men of that character in this country. Again, as Secretary, you have broad discretion Will you consider Lance Corporal Bronco's father for parole in place to stay in our country, owing to the fact that he has contributed to our country by raising 3 United States Marines?
This is an opportunity to remind everybody that every person that's in this country illegally has an opportunity to voluntarily go home and come back the right way.
He raised 3 United States
we will
Marines.
Facilitate that.
He has been living here peacefully, doing his job for 30 years. You have discretion. You are choosing not to use it. Madam Secretary, you promised America that you would go after the worst of the worst. But these people are not the worst of the worst. A Purple Heart recipient, a military spouse, the father of 3 Marines. And it's not just veterans and military families. You are locking up and deporting children with cancer, mothers with babies in the NICU, United States citizens. There are many problems with your leadership, but the biggest problem is this. You don't seem to know how to tell the difference between the good guys and the bad guys. Go after the bad guys. Go after the terrorists. Do not go after veterans, Marines, children,
Gentleman's
United
time's
States
expired.
citizens. I yield back.
Wow. And let's listen to one more clip, if you can stomach it. Again, this is Kristi, Noem.
This individual showed up to impede a law enforcement operation and assaulted our officers. They responded according to their training and took action to defend the officer's life and those of the public around him. And I don't know of any peaceful protester that shows up with a gun and ammunition rather than a sign. This is a violent riot when you have someone showing up with weapons and are using them to assault law enforcement officers. When you perpetuate violence against a government because of ideological reasons and for reasons to resist and perpetuate violence, that is the definition of domestic terrorism. This individual who came with weapons and ammunition to stop a law enforcement operation of federal law enforcement officers committed an act of domestic terrorism. That's the facts.
You keep talking, man, and you shut the fuck up.
Now, we're going to pivot to the David Pakman Show. Again, the David Pakman Show. And we're going to listen to the esteemed director of the FBI, Kash Patel. The level of incompetence in this administration, in my opinion, is astounding. But again, some of you will poo-poo everything that you hear until it happens to someone you may love. But then again, some of you, you may not even care. Let's listen to Kash Patel.
And if anyone broke the law and incited violence, remember that's the key here. We are not going after people and infringing on their freedom of speech to peacefully protest. We are definitely not going after people on their Second Amendment right to bear arms. Only if you incite violence and or threaten to do harm to law enforcement officials and break the law in any other way does it become an investigatory matter. So this signal chat is something that we, the FBI, are looking at and spearheading.
The problem is that Renee Good was killed and Alex Preddy was killed for their exercising of the First and Second Amendment. Just the first for Renee Good and the first and second for Alex Preddy. And the problem with Kash Patel now saying this is that just hours prior, as I showed you yesterday, he said to Maria Bartiromo, we are concerned with people who show up with a gun to a protest. You can't just show up wherever you want with guns, except that's kind of exactly what the law says.
No, I mean, thousands of people are marching through many.
So again, you can find this on the David Pakman Show, but listen to Kash Patel and how he's flip-flopped.
Minneapolis, they are targeting the Border Patrol. I mean, it feels like the rhetoric and the protesting is only ramping up. What is your advice to the people right now who are outraged that this is a second killing at the hands of Border Patrol in 2 weeks? As Kristi said, you cannot bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest that you want. You can't. That's simple. You don't have that right to break the law and incite violence. We will, of course, always protect your First Amendment speech. And if you peacefully protest, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you have seen a trend here, not just in Minnesota, but across the country, in these protests turning into violent scenarios and people attacking law enforcement. That's the problem with what.
Did you just forget about J6 Cash Patel? And anyone in the chat who is sitting there agreeing with this stupidity? Or is that okay? Let's listen to David Pachman.
Ash Patel is saying, and this is not some random yokel. This is the director of the FBI. The problem is that he's
DEI, FBI, FBI, DEI.
describing legal activity under.
In my opinion, not fact. In my opinion, he's definitely not qualified. Kristi Noem is definitely not qualified. As you could see, Lindsay Halligan definitely wasn't qualified, and her ass is out. Let's continue.
The Second Amendment and Minnesota law, if you legally have a gun, you can carry it in public. That includes protests. Having it cannot be interpreted as you being a threat. We know many of the people who carry the guns around are trying to intimidate, but that is not the situation we saw on video regarding Alex Preddy.
So for those of you that are interested, you can go to the David Pachman show to listen to that in its entirety. But again, that was just a little bit of Cash Patel making a fool of himself once again. I honestly think he can't help it. As a matter of fact, I know he cannot help it. So we're going to look at something really quickly here. Hopefully everyone can see this. Now, this is what I mentioned at the top of the broadcast. Minnesota's chief federal judge has ordered the head of ICE, Todd Lyons, to appear in his courtroom Friday and threatened to hold him in contempt for what he says has been a repeated defiance of judges' orders in the state. The court's patience is at an end. U.S. District Judge Patrick Schultz said in a 3-page order issued Monday night demanding that the acting director explain himself personally. Let's take a good look at him. Yep. Interesting. Quite interesting, I would say. Now, let's go to the next little slide here. And a shocking change of events. Senators, plural, Tom Tillis and Lisa Murkowski called for Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem to resign Tuesday, which is today, January 27th, 2026, making them the first, pay attention, making them the first Republicans in Congress to say she should step down. Asked whether he had confidence in Noem, Tillis, RNC, told reporters on Capitol Hill, no, not at all. I think she should go. It's Tom Tillis. He's a Republican. This is Lisa Murkowski. She's a Republican too. Kristi, things aren't looking good for you right now. Not at all. So, real quickly, before we get into this a little bit further, thought I'd bring this up really quick. As I mentioned, for that ignorant troll who left a comment. The unanimous Friday ruling was unsealed on Saturday. By Monday afternoon, the DOJ signaled that it would no longer seek a judge to sign off on Lemon's arrest. Don Lemon, that is. The DOJ had initially sought to charge 8 people, including Don Lemon, in connection with the demonstration, but Magistrate Judge Douglas Miko had only signed off for charges against 3 prospective defendants and directed the feds to seek a grand jury indictment of the remainder. Now, do your research. Do your research. And you will find, unless there's been a faux pas in certain resources, but it says the DOJ has signaled that it would no longer seek a judge to sign off on Lemon's arrest. Now, does that mean that this is over with? Absolutely not. MAGA cannot afford any more losses. The month is almost over, but it's not quite over yet, and they have suffered many, many losses. So to get Don Lemon, that would be a trophy for them, but I don't know how far that will go. As I mentioned earlier, it's possible they might be able to get a grand jury indictment, but you would then need a conviction. You get a conviction, then perhaps sometime, who knows? Who knows how the pendulum will swing? Right now, that's not even a thought. There's other fish to fry, and I mean lots of other fish to fry. So, next, top House Democrats said on Tuesday, again today, told Donald Trump to fire Kristi Noem or they would launch impeachment proceedings against Homeland Security Secretary in response to the weekend unaliving of Alex Fretti in Minneapolis, as 2 Republican senators joined calls for her to resign. I just mentioned Tom Tillis and Lisa Murkowski, and I showed you photographs of them. The ultimatum from the Democrats came after a majority of the House caucus signed on to articles of impeachment introduced earlier this month in response to the unaliving of Renee Good, who, like Pretty, was a U.S. citizen unalived by federal agents during the increasingly violent immigration and enforcement operation in Minnesota's largest city. So, according to reports, Donald Trump allegedly has stated that he believes that Kristi Noem is doing or has been doing a good job. However, those of you familiar with Donald Trump knows that he has the penchant for throwing people under the bus. Will Kristi Noem be thrown under the bus as well? Next, Greg Bovino. Greg Bovino, who's caused so much havoc, has, in my opinion, not been demoted. A lot of people have claimed he's been demoted or has been fired. They've reassigned him. Well, he may set it out for a while and sit back and collect pension. Who knows? Who knows? But let's listen to some audio as it relates to Greg Bovino. Everyone, thank you for tuning in to this late night broadcast. Falling Apart. I'm your hostess, Lise. If you'd be so kind, please make sure that you double tap your screens, or depending upon the device you're listening to, give this a thumbs up. Again, comments are welcome. I just request that you are respectful. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. This is courtesy of Inside Edition. Again, this particular audio and some video is courtesy of Inside Edition. And these are protesters in response to Greg Bovino.
Taunted Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino outside his hotel as news broke that he has been booted out of Minneapolis by order of President Trump. They were trying to make his last night in Minneapolis a sleepless one. This is how one hotel guest, believed to be an ICE agent, responded. He mooned the crowd. Minneapolis police formed a
That was super professional. Let's rewind that again. I'm not a pervert, but I didn't expect that. But you see what I mean? You hired the best of the best. $50,000 bonus for a moon? Are you serious?
one. This is how one hotel guest, believed to be an ICE agent, responded. He mooned the crowd. Minneapolis police formed a cordon to force the protesters back.
All those assembled dispersed immediately.
Published reports say that Bovino has been demoted in order to return to his home base in California, and that's not all. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, aka Ice Barbie, is also reportedly on the outs with President Trump. This after a 2-hour sit down last night in the Oval Office. Trump.
Now, again, you can find that for those who want to see it. I'm not sure how many people would want to, but you can go to Inside Edition for that entire video, which is only a couple of minutes long. So we're going to go to another quick video. Now, of course, many people already know that Tom Homan, the border czar, is now in Minnesota. So we're going to go listen to him for a bit.
President Trump's second term, Tom Homan has been one of the strongest defenders of the administration's immigration enforcement policy.
I trust the professionals at the Board of Children ICE, all very well trained, to make sure they establish reasonable suspicion.
Homan himself rose through the ranks as a federal immigration agent in the field.
Thank you for the opportunity today.
And testified before Congress about human smuggling in 2003.
We totally dismantled 11 alien smuggling organizations.
Homan then became a top ICE official in 2013 under President Obama. In 2015, Homan earned a Presidential Rank Award as the Obama administration in its later years loosened deportation efforts to prioritize people with serious criminal convictions.
You have them to deport, but you have policies that tell you not to deport whole categories of people that are here unlawfully. Isn't that correct? That's a factor, yes, sir.
After President Trump won the 2016 election, Homan became head of ICE.
I chose to serve my country once again.
As ICE director in Trump's first term and now as border czar, Homan has helped implement the president's mass deportation promise, which makes anyone here illegally a target for removal.
We have to have our eyes really wide open as to who Tom Homan is.
Heidi Altman works with the National Immigration Law Center.
It's clear if you listen to his interviews and just take his words at face value that implementing the Trump administration agenda, he feels like he's living out his true values.
President Trump, though, has praised Homan's work in Minnesota.
Tom Homan, he's there right now. He's with the governor and he's with the mayor. And I hear things are going very, very good.
So
Last fall, Homan was also the
he
subject
is
of some
in
controversy
Minneapolis
after
right
reports
now. So for those of you who are interested in hearing that part of Tom Homan being in Minneapolis to take over operations, you can go to CARE 11, and that's spelled KARE 11, but it will be in the description. We're going to take a brief intermission, a break, and we will return with Following Apart. This is your hostess, Lise, and welcome. I'm so glad to have you back here virtually. Be back momentarily.
Bro, we broke up with you for a reason. Donald Trump is like an old boyfriend who you broke up with, but he just won't go away.
You got to win the midterms, because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be, I mean, they'll find a reason to impeach me. You got to win the.
I know you lying. 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 I know you lying.
And we are back, and we're going to listen to Senate Minority Leader, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries during this brief, and I do mean brief, press conference. Without further delay, you can find this on Forbes. Again, Forbes Breaking News.
Are going to be willing to fund DHS big enough for all of these members, and put out that joint statement with leadership saying they're going to vote against this. Are you comfortable with your members pushing back on that?
It's an interesting thing about kind of where we find ourselves. I don't know what's unclear about this. Republicans are losing. Their policies have been a disaster for the American people. The economy is falling apart in terms of the affordability crisis and the Republican refusal to drive down the high cost of living, which is what they promised they were going to do on day one. We now are past year one, and things aren't getting better for the American people, they're getting worse. Donald Trump and Republicans have created a healthcare crisis that is devastating to everyday Americans, yet they can find $40 billion to bail out Argentina, spend billions of dollars trying to run Venezuela when Donald Trump and his administration don't even know how to run the United States of America, but they can't find a dime to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, which means tens of millions of people, as we speak, are at risk of being unable to go see a doctor when they need it. So from a value standpoint, Democrats are standing on the side of the American people, and Republicans are standing on the side of their billionaire donors. So all they care about, Republican extremists at the end of the day, are massive tax breaks for their billionaire donors and subsidize.
That was Hakeem Jeffries, and this is Hakeem Jeffries again.
Joining us now, House Minority Leader, New York Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. It's good to see you. What do you make of the president's full-throated support of Kristi Noem?
Kristi Noem is a despicable, corrupt, pathological liar. We've seen her slander not just one, but two American citizens, patriotic Americans who were killed without justification on the streets of Minneapolis in the last few weeks. She's deeply unqualified. She never should have been confirmed to begin with by Senate Republicans, and House Democrats have called for her to be fired immediately. And in the event that she is not terminated, we are prepared to initiate impeachment proceedings against her in the House of Representatives.
Well, the president has given no indication that he's ready to fire her or even thinking about it. And you, as I don't need to tell you, are in the minority. So how do you do that? I mean, what can you do? Have you spoken to the speaker? Do you have any sense that there are Republicans who would stand by you in an impeachment process?
We have to build a case so that we can convince a handful of Republicans, as we have done on other issues, that the time is now to hold the Department of Homeland Security accountable for their behavior. They are conducting themselves like a paramilitary organization, as opposed to protecting the health, the safety, and the well-being of the American people. They are violently targeting American citizens and law-abiding immigrant families, and it's unacceptable, it's unconscionable, and it's un-American. We're prepared to hold hearings, as we've done in other instances, and use every tool available to make sure that Kristi Noem is held accountable. But even more importantly, of course, we support the effort by Leader Chuck Schumer and Senate Democrats to force.
Okay, Hakeem Jeffries, in my opinion, he talks. I may have to do this to him because he's beginning to get on my nerves. I hear him speaking a lot. What we're prepared to do, we're going to do this, but you're just talking.
You keep talking, man, and you shut the fuck up.
Hakeem Jeffries, I, along with many other people, are getting to the point to, if you don't start to act other than just providing lip service, maybe it's time that you pack your bags and go. Okay? Just being fair and honest here. We're going to go to MSN Now, who has a wonderful little montage of some comments that have been made. I think you'll enjoy this. The hypocrisy is astounding, as I mentioned. Again, this is courtesy of MSN Now.
Shooting Americans to death on tape. These shootings were caught on video. That has changed everything. If these were just accounts or reports, who knows what people would actually know about the facts. This is the kind of evidence that would make for slam dunk cases in court, although we are in a moment where the federal government says it is sometimes above being taken to court. We'll see about that. These videos, and you're looking at stills from moments before both of the killings, are pieces of reality that we
And I will not be showing
know now
those.
tens of millions of Americans have watched for themselves. That makes it hard for MAGA partisan spin, lies, or these so-called media filters to obscure what are these hard truths, tough to face, enraging and outrageous to take in, but truths nonetheless. And I can tell you tonight, here we are, early in the week, that we are seeing these new headlines about Trump already forced to pivot from his mess, that his tactics have proved MAGA wrong, that he is, according to major outlets, changing course on this debacle. Now, those reported, quote, changes reference staffing or messaging, not changing the actual, likely unlawful policies on force and deployments, which we'll get to. The Trump administration's messaging began by pushing lies and a cover-up about executing 2 Americans. It included over the weekend false claims about Alex Preddy that were boosted on Fox News. Top Trump officials lied about Preddy.
Again, Fox News Network. That includes one particular host. I cannot stand, and when I say I cannot stand, I don't know the person, but he's just a bootlicker, in my opinion. And another person who I've listened to at one time, I listened to him and Rush Limbaugh when he was alive, because I like to get the opinions and true feelings of individuals to see exactly where they are. And Sean Hannity, again, Sean Hannity, gosh, would speak about Christian values, but he has pushed, in my opinion, a lot of the propaganda and rhetoric, but it seems like he's taken a little Sammy Davis Jr. tap dance back, and you're going to find many, as I've mentioned to you before, I've warned a lot of you before, the tide is going to change, and that change is here. I wonder how many of you are going to sit there in that cesspool and ride the wave until the Titanic sinks. Get your life boats together.
These actions, when the available video and evidence put them on notice, these were not harmless fog of war confusions, these were clear lies. They also falsely branded him a terrorist when he was exercising his First Amendment rights, as seen on video, and then gunned down by DHS agents. Fox News supported those false claims in the critical first hours and days of reporting over the weekend. The New York Times reporting how Fox anchors promoted the Trump administration's extreme claims that, quote, the slain protester had brought the violence upon himself. The tape showed he did not. His presence did not include any actions that meet the legal requirements for officers to use deadly force. And that, by the way, does not mean that they committed a crime. We have a system that would have to investigate that further. But we can already say, based on the plain evidence and reality before us, they didn't have the requisite legal justification to kill him. Now, Fox played that down. They minimized the available evidence that would contradict Trump administration's version of events. And the Times did a full review of Fox's weekend coverage, concluding most of that Fox News reporting on the shooting incorrectly supported the administration's misleading initial claims, the sort of Orwellian official version of this government killing. Now, as the story accelerated, Times reports how one Fox contributor told viewers over the weekend, quote, when you're seeing a gun in your face and you're in the scuffle, then you have to, again, assume that is a gun.
Why? Why do you have to assume? Shouldn't you know?
Freddie did not point a gun in anyone's face. Fox also featured another guest on air who asserted that Freddie, quote, put agents in a situation where they had to use deadly force, the Times reported. That is legally false. That coverage, that tone, was common on Fox over this weekend. It was misleading, to say the least. It failed to accurately reflect the available video or documented legal standards, which journalists and lawyers know because we've covered many use of force stories. Viewers relying on that coverage were being told this incident wasn't even a close call, that basically agents responded to a gun in their face. So they responded with their own guns, that they were countering a, quote, terrorist, someone who was dangerous and breaking the law.
Like that man who sprayed what looks like he sprayed some unknown chemical or sprayed something on Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. I wonder if there's going to be any outrage. I wonder what happened to that man. Again, are you going to allow your eyes to see something different? Or are you just ignorant? And I'm not speaking about everyone. I'm speaking about the truly ignorant, hateful, bigoted individuals that come on the chat from time to time. Thank you, Jesus. That's all I can say is thank you for raining down. Yes, thank you.
The evidence does not support that. Freddie was seen exercising his First Amendment rights and then helping a woman and then not breaking any gun laws because, as many Second Amendment fans know and every lawyer knows, there are many parts of this country where you may legally exercise what are your constitutional Second Amendment rights. That can include carrying a weapon. And it is not legal for the government to execute you for exercising that right. And perhaps people on Fox were aware of that line and felt the need to stretch. Only they can explain why they falsely suggested there was a gun in the face of the agents when there was not. Now, this is a network that already surrendered in one of the most costly defamation cases in American history when they were echoing Trump's lies after he lost the 2020 election. So quite a showing to go out there on behalf of Trump again with these statements that were not all true.
That's what you call the epitome of stupidity. I'm not going to call it ignorance. I'm calling it stupidity. And there are a lot of people that suffer from that ailment, stupidity. But if you want to continue, as I said, more power to you. More power to you.
Not only that, it didn't even last a week. Because by Monday, things you know if you follow the news, meaning other news channels, or the video online, or any number of reputable outlets, you probably know that what they were saying that weekend wasn't true. And this video evidence, plus the pushback, plus objections from Republicans, led Fox and its guests to start backing off those misleading claims.
I'm sure, because there's going to be a change, and I would, if I was a betting person, which I'm not, but if I were, lot of lawsuits, coming. As a matter of fact, I read a story. I may do a video on it later, but a couple of Trinidadian families have waged a lawsuit against family members who perished because of an incident involving a boat. So that's going to be interesting, but you all keep listening and believing in lies. See how far it's going to get you. Even though it may not look like it right now, good and righteousness will prevail.
We have some new reporting tonight as part of our special report, and I want to read it to you. Trump basically saw that the misleading claims were failing on TV. The Wall Street Journal is now reporting that Trump's concerns grew as cable news commentators picked apart comments made by his top officials, with even some of his allies noting on TV their words were not supported by the video. And that fed Trump's worry that, quote, his administration looked chaotic.
No, they look stupid and incompetent. That would be accurate. Let's continue.
Not strong, leading him to change course, a stunning shift, the Journal suggests, on a policy that's core to his political identity. So for Fox audience, just think about if that was your source of information. Viewers who watched Saturday tuned back in to find a contradicting presentation of reality by early this week. And that brings us to some video you also have to see. While we don't make it a practice here to re-air a bunch of misleading claims, unless there is a strict reason or accountability of reporting, I'm going to show you not the weekend stuff, but what we got to by early this week as contributors and even some hosts took this all in, contradicted their own channel over the weekend, and this is how they've sounded this week.
I do believe that there was an unforced error with regard to the administration and their initial accounts of this shooting. Those accounts are not borne out by those videotapes.
I think that the extravagant statements by these DHS officials, ICE officials, and the DHS secretary over the weekend didn't play well.
It is politically disastrous for the president and also not the kind of civil society we need to live in.
Now, is ICE perfect? They're not.
Look at him. Look at him. How does that shoe feel in your mouth, Sean Hannity? Hannity is saying, now, ICE, perfect? They're not. Can they do a better job? They can. Do I think that? You know, some of the optics at times, do I think that going into Home Depots and arresting people there is a good idea? I don't. Sean Hannity. One of the biggest brown nosers to MAGA I have ever seen. Looks like you've done an about face. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. On Fox, Hannity now says Trump's ICE agents can do better. Really, Sean Hannity? When did you come to that conclusion? Certainly, you saw the video. Most of us have seen, but what really has changed your little itty-bitty pea brain of a mind along with everyone else's? This is delicious. MAGA, how are you feeling right now? I'm going to be clear again. I'm not a Republican and I'm not a Democrat. But what I'm seeing and hearing on both sides, it's deplorable. But the Republican side and Some of these operations, you know within your heart of hearts, it's completely wrong, inhumane, and you wouldn't want it done to your families. Well, let me not say that. Some of you, as I mentioned, you may not even care. But to see Sean Hannity eat crow does my soul good. And again, the Most High will humble you. And MAGA, seems like to me a lot of you are about to be humbled into the truth, whether you want to admit it or not.
Do a better job if they can. Do I think that, some of the optics at times, do I think that going into Home Depots and arresting people there is a good idea? I don't. We certainly should not.
Really? Idiot. I hope you lose your job.
Be labeling him as being a domestic terrorist who was going to execute cops. There's no evidence to support that.
Such polling as there is, Brett, suggests that people think ICE and DHS have gone too far, and they're not winning the PR war in Minnesota.
Absolutely. So, MAGA, are you falling apart? What's the real reason why Greg Bovino was shipped back to where he came from? And Tom, $50,000 Holman, water czar, is now overtaking operations. Now, $50,000. That's all allegations. Nothing has been proven. But there's still people asking that question. Did you know anything about $50,000, Tom Holman? And if so, where's that money? We're going to take another break and continue with this late night broadcast. Falling apart? Oh, it looks like many places are. And I honestly believe, I could be wrong, I have been in the past, but time may be short for Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. We'll be back. And we are back, and we're going to listen to another press conference on none other than Kristi Noem.
About something that should stop every American in their tracks. Yesterday in Minneapolis, federal immigration agents killed another American citizen in broad daylight. His name was Alex Preddy. He was 37 years old. He was an ICU nurse, someone whose job was saving lives. Video shows him doing something he was trained to do, to help people. He was trying to reach over and help a woman in need when she was thrown.
The voice you're listening to is New York Governor. You can find this on News 8 WROC. Again, News 8 WROC. This is the New York Governor.
To the ground by federal agents. And within seconds, federal agents threw him to the ground and fired a shot, not one, but a barrage of bullets into his body on a public sidewalk in America. The federal government claims the killing was justified. This nurse with nothing more than a cell phone in his hand, that he was trying to kill them. That's their story. But anyone who's seen this horrific video, multiple videos, knows that this is a shameless, bold-faced lie. This is not a threat that needs to be neutralized. It was a civilian exercising the free right to protest. And this is a continuation of a deadly pattern, a pattern of violence. It is well known that earlier this month, federal agents also shot a mother of three in the face when she just extended a greeting to him. 2 American families destroyed. Confidence in federal law enforcement shattered. At the same time, ICE agents are arresting children. A 5-year-old returning from preschool, using them as bait. A 2-year-old taken on the way home from a grocery store with her dad.
So again, you have someone else calling for the resignation of Kristi Noem. Go to another video. And this is Fetterman demanding that Trump fire Kristi Noem.
Lead source tonight is one of the 7 Democrats who voted to confirm Kristi Noem, but is now calling for her to go. Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman joins me now, and thank you, Senator, for being here. Why do you believe that Secretary Noem should be fired?
Well, I mean, for multiple reasons right now. I voted for her because I'm on the Homeland Security, and I'm also the ranking member on the Border Security Subcommittee. So I hope to have a relationship and work together because.
So this is the voice of a ranking member, as you heard him just say. But this is Senator John Fetterman, who is calling for the President of the United States, Donald Trump, to fire Kristi Noem.
I thought we would believe in securing our border and deporting the criminals and having an ongoing dialogue. That's the way things work in Washington, D.C. And clearly, the way things continue.
That's absolutely untrue, but you can continue with your narrative. But that's not 100% true. Absolutely not.
To deteriorate, and actually what happened in Minneapolis, it's been very clear. They've created a dangerous and ungovernable situation that made civilians, law enforcement, and agents unsafe, and created now and resulted in now 2 deaths of American citizens at this point.
If President Trump doesn't
That
fire
it's-
her, would you support those efforts that are underway?
This also can be found on Forbes Breaking News. Again, Forbes Breaking News. And it's entitled Gross Incompetence. I couldn't have titled it better myself. But you've heard the words coming out of these individuals' mouths, speaking before an investigation is completed, speaking before it's even commenced. At your rank, that's something you just don't do. And then some people have the nerve to accuse brown and black people of being DEI hires. These incompetent people, what type of hires are they? Ask yourself that question. And if you can be honest with yourselves, provide an answer. The mask is being pulled back on so many people. And it's going to continue.
To impeach her and remove her?
I mean, you can impeach a ham sandwich. That's not going to go anywhere with it.
He said, I didn't expect that. He said, you can impeach a ham sandwich.
Won't be any votes. The same thing happened with Mayorkas. Mayorkas, again, I thought he was incompetent, and then I think he should have been fired. Honestly, for us. But now, whether you impeach or not, there won't be a votes, and it's just going to be more of a statement. I think, calling the president to fire her, that's about as strong as it probably gets. That, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily illegal, but it's just incompetence, gross incompetence. Whether we had what I believe with Mayorkas, again, what went out with Noem.
If she stays on as the Homeland Security Secretary and given your role on those committees, what's your concern about the future of DHS?
I'm sorry, what? There's a
If she stays on as the secretary, if Kristi Noem does, what's your concern about her leadership at DHS?
Well, yes, of course. I mean, of course, there's ongoing concern, and then this is what I've said in my tweet to the president. It's like, it's trashing your legacy. As a Democrat, that I believe in immigration. I believe we deserve a secure border. I believe we should deport all of the criminals in our nation. What I don't believe is we should be targeting otherwise hardworking immigrants, and I don't support those things. So for me, that's what's a breakdown in Minneapolis. They weren't deporting all the criminals, certainly wasn't making our border any more secure. And it turned into like an out of control. And it's getting increasingly more and more deadly and chaotic.
Do you think the federal agents should all leave Minneapolis?
I do think you need a reset at this point. I don't think at this point anything more productive can continue, because you can't control it, you can't govern it, and so why would you at this point maintain and push such a very bad situation? I think there needs an effective reset and work with local officials and now figure out, does it really make any sense at this point? And now, given the tragedy of what's happened here.
With Secretary Noem, what she said was not that different than what we also heard from the FBI director or from Stephen Miller, or, he said that he was an assassin, something that the vice president also retweeted. Do you believe the president should take action beyond just Kristi Noem when it comes to his senior staff?
Okay, so for those of you who wish to listen to the remainder of that, that can be found on Forbes Breaking News. Again, Forbes Breaking News. And next, calls for accountability for ICE run amok, puts no one in the hot seat. Again, this is courtesy of MS Now.
So far, more than 160 Democrats in Congress have called for the impeachment of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. 160. And she, of course, oversees both ICE and CBP as they wage their immigration crackdown in Minneapolis and communities across the country, hence the call for her impeachment. While it's difficult to imagine Republicans in this Congress turning against a member of Trump's cabinet, at this point at least 2 Republican senators who voted for her confirmation have broken ranks with their party. One is Senator Lisa Murkowski, and the other is Senator Tom Tillis.
I think that what she's done in Minnesota should be disqualified. She should be out of her job.
All right, now he's retiring, but still seems like something. Joining me live from Minneapolis is Congressman Seth Moulton of Massachusetts. Congressman, I know you are freezing out there. You've been out there with protesters. Thank you for being here with us tonight. Let me just ask you about what I just mentioned. I mean, you've been in Minneapolis. You've seen what's happening on the ground. Senator Tom Tillis is retiring, as I mentioned. Senator Lisa Murkowski, she's broken with Republicans before. Neither of them have called for Noem's impeachment, but it does feel like something's moving out there. You talk to a lot of members from both parties, Democrats, but Republicans too. Give us some kind of real talk. What is the movement here? Is there real movement toward this happening, or do you think it's just going to propel pressure to get her to be pushed out?
The vast majority of Republicans understand the truth that we can see with our own eyes watching videos from Minneapolis today. But they're just scared. I mean, Jen, I was on Will Kane's show after Renee Good's shooting, and the first colleague I ran into was a very conservative Republican, a big Trump supporter, who came up to me and he said, yeah, you were right. You did a good job in that interview, and that was a terrible shooting. And he said, I have spent years in law enforcement, and all of my law enforcement friends said that she shouldn't have been shot. But then the next thing he said was, of course, I can't say that. What he's saying is, I know the truth. I know this shouldn't be happening. I know that federal agents are breaking the law, and yet I'm just too scared to say that publicly because I'm worried about my own job.
At this point, why though? I mean, Trump is very unpopular. This is very unpopular. What is happening in Minneapolis, of course it is. ICE is very unpopular. Why are they so afraid still now?
I mean, they just seem to be afraid of Trump and the base. I mean, this is the story of the Republican Party today, completely subservient to Trump, completely powerless. They've made Congress essentially irrelevant under Speaker Johnson. And as a result, they're not willing to just show.
So we're going to go to another video from the Dave Packman show. And again, I'm going to preface this with this. It is unconfirmed and opinion. A complete opinion from a physical therapist. Again, you can go to the David Packman show where a physical therapist says that President Trump only has 4 months. Now, a lot of people have talked about bruising and swelling. Again, that's something that I'm sensitive about as it relates to health issues because I have my own, and many of you that, hold on for one moment, many of you that know, you know, others that may make comments on my voice or how I may sound, you may not be aware. So I'm really sensitive when it comes to health issues, but there are many people that have spoken on this. So this is the voice of Adam James, who, again, is reportedly unconfirmed report that President Trump has maybe 4 months. Now, I'm a believer. And when I was in a situation where it looked like only 3 weeks for me, that wasn't so. That was over a year. It'll be 2 years, God willing, in 4 months. So I believe the Creator can do anything. But in saying that, you truly have to repent and be mindful that sometimes our actions have consequences for everyone. So let's listen to this therapist, Adam James. And again, you can find this on the David Pakman Show.
Who is a content creator under the name Epistemic Crisis. Adam is a licensed physical therapist of 14 years working in home healthcare. And Adam, people might be saying, how is that experience relevant to anything that you talk about, David? But you tell us, when we see the publicly visible symptoms and characteristics of Donald Trump, these are things you're very familiar with from the folks you work with.
That's right. Yeah, it's something I see every day. When a neurologist or any other physician diagnoses a patient with these types of neurological conditions, many times we are then called in, and then we see that patient in their own home 2, 3, 4 times a week in some cases. So we become extremely familiar with it.
I have questions about so many of the things I observe with Donald Trump that go directly to your experience. I, as a layperson, see that he sometimes has this way of standing where he kind of hinges forward at the waist very noticeably. Or, for example, I see him walking and the trajectory of his right leg is sort of being dragged and then pulled around almost like from the hip, if you imagine it tracing a half circle.
No, I can say he's almost 80 years old. I'm up in age myself, so sometimes just for me, myself, my leg may want to go one way and my body tells me it's not ready to move just yet. Because of my own issues, my skin is very thin, so I experience bruising. But let's continue to listen to the physical therapist again. The views and opinions that you hear on this channel is not, I repeat, not that of this channel, YouTube, Google, nor any of its affiliates. These are just opinions. However, this is a self-proclaimed physical therapist, so keep that in mind as well. These are all opinions, allegations, and we shall continue. Again, the David Pakman Show.
Air. I could go on, right, and give you other examples. As a professional, am I seeing things that aren't really relevant, or is there stuff here that is worthy of discussion?
It's all worthy of discussion. What you're seeing just with the gait, the swinging that leg in a semicircle at times, is I think it's a combination of, he's probably had some measure of stroke-like event, whether it's a CVDA or TIA, most likely last September when he disappeared for several days. The swinging of the leg is a adaptation to right-sided weakness from some sort of stroke event, I believe. But a wider based gait is also a symptom of dementia, specifically frontotemporal dementia, which I think is what he's dealing with most. So the wider someone's gait gets, the slower their gait speed is. Those are all adaptations for an increased risk of falling, because subconsciously He knows my balance is decreasing and I need to protect.
Now, I can say this to be fair and transparent. I'm really conscious about my gait. I'm very conscious about my balance because at times I don't feel balanced. I don't. I have to do a lot of different types of exercises, but I'm very careful. And again, being out in the snow and ice, I have to be even more careful coming up steps at home. I hold on to the rails. Sometimes I'll run up and down if I'm having a good day, but I'm always careful and have to remind myself you're at an age now. If you get a fracture or God forbid a break, it's not going to be good. So I can understand wanting to be careful. And when people speak about balance, and keep in mind, he's almost 80 years old. So some of this might come with age, but I'm not a doctor or a therapist or anything like that. These are just things that I'm thinking about. But let's continue to listen to this physical therapist.
Myself.
As a licensed physical therapist, are these things that can be worked on such that they improve? Of course, the first step is you've got to acknowledge that there's a problem, and the second step is you've got to say, I want to work on it. But putting that aside for a moment, are these things that are simply progressive, or can they be worked on?
So to a certain degree, they can be worked on. With a patient that's in the shape that he's in, honestly, more of my work would be focused on safety adaptations,
So without knowing, and of course we understand about HIPAA and things of that nature, I don't believe that this therapist would have access to his total medical workup. People can come up with a lot of things, but to have access to something as personal as that, especially for the president, I think that would be a reach. But then again, who knows? But I will say this: when you have certain, I'll just say, health challenges, like for the ones that I have medications that are meant to slow the progression. What I have is incurable, that there's absolutely no cure, and it cannot be reversed. So the goal is to slow the progression. So this is what he's speaking about here. Let's continue.
in his living space, the use of an assistive device for walking to prevent a fall. So yes, they can be worked on, they can be improved upon. There's a certain measure of improvement you can see from something like a stroke-like event. But then there's also a case of a chronic progressive disease that has no cure, such as dementia. You're literally dealing with losing neurons are dying and you are losing brain tissue. And that's most likely reflected on the multiple MRIs that he has had, because I believe they're tracking the progression of dementia.
So let's talk about the MRI. It turns out he didn't really have the MRI that he told us he did. Now, let me just kind of set the stage here. A few months ago, Donald Trump said, yes, I got an MRI. He was asked why. He didn't know. He was asked of what part of the body. He didn't know. The White House then issued multiple statements about Trump's MRI.
Yeah.
And then after 2 months, it turned out that it was a CAT scan. So there are questions about that and how Trump would be so confused about what he got. But do we know that he even has received MRIs? Because now I'm thinking everybody has just been talking about this CAT scan the whole time.
Right. So I take into account also his mentioning of his cognitive assessments.
Okay.
Because of what we really believe that the cognitive assessments he's had, most likely the MOCA, the Montreal Cognitive Assessment.
Yes.
They are tracking the progression of dementia with this man. He wants,
again, to be prudent and responsible. I am going to say again, allegedly, and I'm going to say this is unconfirmed and according to a licensed physical therapist. These, I would assume, are his opinions. I do not believe by any fiber of my being that he is the President of the United States' personal physical therapist. I think he's a physical therapist, according to him, a licensed physical therapist, offering his opinion from what he has seen and observed and most likely has read and compared to what others have spoken on. Let's continue. Again, this is courtesy of David Pakman Show.
To pretend like it was a aptitude test, that is no way, shape, or form what that test is for.
Right. He talks about it almost like an IQ test.
Yes. He wants us to believe they're just wanting to show the world how smart he is.
Right.
So that test is usually it's usually combined with neurological workup, which would include MRIs. I believe he's had everything. I think he's had everything. All of their messaging is always going to be a lie because they don't want anybody to publicly know how ill he really is. So I go with the clinical symptoms he actually displays, and also the things that they get the most upset about, such as him falling asleep in cabinet meetings. Those are the indicators of what's really going on with him, for me at least, because they're never actually going.
Now, I'm going to say I put in 11, 12, sometimes 13 hours a day on top of my own medical issues, that there are times when I'm writing a report where I get sleepy or tired and have to take a break, and I find myself dozing off. I'm much younger than he, not that, well, maybe 25 years, but still, I'm pushing 60. So yes, I get tired at times. So, and people younger than I've seen doze off. So I'm not going to say that has anything to do with a potential condition. Again, I'm not a physician or anything under that umbrella. And this individual, Mr. Adam James, is a licensed physical therapist that works in home health care. I do not believe, and he has not indicated, that he is a personal or has ever been a personal physical therapist for the president. Again, I believe these are opinions, and that's how I'm going to state it. These are opinions based on his observations and perhaps his experience in this field. We're going to listen to a little bit more of that, and then we're going to go to one of my other favorite creators, Brian Tyler Cohen. Again, thank you for tuning in to Falling Apart. This is your hostess, Lise. If you would be so kind, for those of you that are tuned in, to please double tap the screen. And if you're listening on another device, please consider giving a thumbs up. Your comments are absolutely welcome. If there's something that you would like to say, please make sure that you do. If there's something that I've reported on, and these are direct reports from these news sources, let me know that as well. I appreciate each and every one of you. And again, I hope you are all safe and out of the elements, because it is extremely cold here. We are at 19 degrees now, and still a lot of icing conditions. So just make sure that you have everything that you need and that you and yours are safe. Let's continue.
Going to tell us what's going on with him.
A couple other things I want to ask about. There was a video of Trump walking down a red carpet. The red carpet was perfectly straight. It didn't curve, it didn't bend. And this was when Donald Trump was meeting Vladimir Putin. And you see, especially if you speed the video up, that Trump is meandering from side to side. And so even though the carpet is straight, Trump is tracing what we might call almost like a sine wave, if you looked at it from a drone looking down.
Yes.
Is that sometimes just the way people meander down a sidewalk, or is there something relevant there to your work?
I think it's relevant because dementia decreases the brain's ability to process visual information. That leads to the glassy-eyed, blank stare, because they're actually not encountering visual stimulus the same way that someone without.
Now that's interesting, and I'm going to cut that right there. Again, you can listen to that video in its entirety. That can be found on the David Pakman Show. Again, David Pakman, P as in Paul, A as in Apple, K as in Kite, M as in Mary, A as in Apple, N as in Nancy. David Pakman Show. And he's speaking about Donald Trump and his thoughts and opinions on his medical prognosis. And now we're going to go to, again, Brian Tyler Cohen.
Trump abandons the Second Amendment. Will his supporters stand by MAGA or their MAGs? This is just another day. Some say Trump's greatest asset is his unpredictability. One day he's calling a reporter a pig to her face. The next he's asking a Democratic socialist to the prom. He always zigs when you think he's going to zag. And today was no exception, because after days of the administration calling murdered Minneapolis protester Alex Preddy an assassin who violently resisted ICE agents over the weekend and claiming this
individual who came with weapons and ammunition to stop a law enforcement operation of federal law enforcement officers committed an act of domestic terrorism.
Today, Trump had this to say about Preddy's tragic death.
Well, I'm looking at that whole situation. I love everybody. I love all of our people. I love his family. And it's a very sad situation.
Wow. For a second, Trump sounded almost human. Then I remembered the hand. Still, it's clear that Donald Trump is finally feeling the backlash against his administration's campaign to mischaracterize VA nurse Alex Preddy's death as justified when mounting evidence points to the opposite. Sorry, guys, but you can't ask people to not believe what they can see with their own eyes. Just like you can't ask people to believe that.
And that's the bullseye. People saw what happened in so many cases, but they changed the narratives. We can go back to Sonia Massey. We can go back to, well, I'm not going to bring that up, but again, we've seen video and people trying to analyze it from different directions. And I'm speaking to everyone. But this one right here, I'm sorry, you've already had people, you've had MAGA people call it out and have been honest that they've jumped the gun. Still waiting on Kristi Noem and Kash Patel to show some semblance of accountability, as well as Greg Bovino. Will that ever happen? That's up for debate. Let's continue. Again, this is Brian Tyler Cohen.
You're not a walking corpse when we can all literally see the flesh rotting off your bones. Still, this morning, Trump genuinely seemed to be trying to lower the temperature on the increasingly terrifying and unsustainable clash between ICE officers and protesters in Minneapolis. And in the spirit of the season of love, as we head toward February, even his betrothed chimed in on his behalf.
We need to unify. I'm calling for unity. I know my husband, the president, had a great call yesterday with the governor and the mayor, and they're working together to make it peaceful and without riots. I'm against the violence, so if we protest in peace.
Wow. Of all the jobs I expected AI to steal, I never thought First Lady would be at the top of the list. The technology clearly has a long way to go, but once they figure out how to make this Melania bot emote, AI really could change the world. But while the measured tones from Melania and Trump were uncharacteristic, they weren't even the biggest shock that we got from the president today, because he also had this to say about the gun that Alex Preddy was legally carrying while he was shot.
You know, you can't have guns. You can't walk in with guns.
What about the Second Amendment?
You can't walk in with guns. You can't do that. But it's very unfortunate.
So he said that you can't have guns, you can't walk in with them. Someone said What about the Second Amendment? And he repeats himself, you can't walk in with them. And then he follows up with, that's a very unfortunate incident. So for the remainder of that video, you can go visit Brian Tyler Cohen. And we're going to go to the young man, Adam Mockler.
To break out.
And again, I believe, again, I could be wrong. Nothing surprises me anymore, but there is a lot of pressure for Kristi Noem to say bye-bye. Again, you can follow along and listen to Adam Mockler. And this is entitled, Kristi Noem Panics and Blames Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller actually said, and you all can go and Google this, it looks as though that the agents may not have followed protocol. Stephen Miller is the chief of staff. Remember, he was out there on the front lines too with his incorrect and unfair, in my opinion, labels of Alex Pretty. But now he too has stepped back just a little bit and said that they may not have followed protocol. So my question to the Republicans and MAGA that may be in the chat or may catch the replay and like to leave little comments, with Republicans calling for the resignation of Kristi Noem and Fox News reporters who y'all just love, easing back and changing their tune a little bit. Are you going to turn on them too and start hurling insults at them and calling them traitors? Or are you still emboldened in hate and bigotry? The walls are closing in. The truth is coming out. Let's continue. I like Adam Mockler. Again, he's only, I believe, 23. He's no more than 25 years old. And he lights your butts up. I'd like to see some of you go into his comment section and say some of the things that you say to me. Because a lot of you look like him. Bet you won't do it. Let's continue.
Between top officials within the Trump administration as they figure out who they can scapegoat regarding the not awful response to the execution of 37-year-old ICU nurse Alex Pretty. Immediately after the shooting, top Trump officials came out using incendiary rhetoric saying that Alex was trying to massacre people, that he was essentially a bloodthirsty domestic terrorist. Now, Trump admin officials are backing down off of that type of rhetoric and saying they are waiting for the investigation to happen, which is, it's good, but it's too little too late. You guys came out and defamed him.
That's Adam Mockler. Again, 25, if that, extremely articulate. And he knows how to debate. And again, he rips into the Republicans and MAGA. But he's also said, if Democrats do things that are off the cuff and wrong, he'll call them out, which he has. So I want to be clear on that. Let's continue.
Basically kicked his dead body an hour after he was shot by your goons, and now they're trying to blame each other. At first, Kristi Noem was thrown under the bus. She's getting reassigned from interior enforcement over to the border. Then Greg Bovino got demoted. Trump thought that was going to be enough, but we were looking for more accountability. So
I love it. I just love this. Please continue.
Kristi Noem told people behind the scenes that she got that language from Stephen Miller, actually. She's trying to blame it on Stephen Miller. Now, Stephen...
Now, I've said this a long time ago. Eventually, they were going to start eating themselves. And look what's happening.
Stephen Miller is the one that leads the most extreme policy within the Trump admin. But at the end of the day, this is Trump's administration. He creates the permission structure. He chose these people. He handpicked these people and gave them the instructions to be as incendiary as possible. So it is Trump's fault. It is Stephen Miller's fault. And yes, Kristi Noem, it is still your fault. You are a grown woman. Even if you want to say that the language came directly from Stephen Miller. Kristi Noem's language that Alex Preddy wanted to, quote, massacre federal agents was dictated to Noem and her department by the man most responsible for the controversial operation, Stephen Miller.
Now that was tweeted, and you can go to Twitter, formerly known Twitter, it's X, and this is Kyle Griffin, and it says, breaking Axios, Kristi Noem's language that Alex Preddy wanted to, quote, massacre federal agents was dictated to Noem and her department by the man most responsible for the controversial operation, Stephen Miller. Again, these are unconfirmed reports, but it says that's according to 4, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 sources who spoke to Axios. That was 3:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on today, January the 27th, 2026. Well. I believe there's going to be a lot of backstabbing going on. As I said, as my title says, falling apart. I would say they're busting apart at the seams. Again, this is Adam Mockler.
According to 4 sources who spoke to Axios, and now Kristi Noem is trapped in a corner due to her botched operation. Senator Tom Tillis, a Republican senator, says he's giving President Trump a terminate recommendation for Secretary Kristi Noem's job. Listen to the scathing letter written by a Republican. Remember, a Republican. Quote,
okay, and this is what I reported on earlier. Adam's going to go into full detail. And this is Burgess Everett. This is being tweeted by Burgess Everett. And this is the voice of, again, I believe he's 23-year-old Adam Mockler. Remember, match the energy. Gotta love it.
she's proven that she doesn't know how to lead, how to de-escalate. She's exposing ICE officers to dangerous situations. She's exposing U.S. citizens to deadly situations. And instead of actually stepping back and being calm, she tells the president, as did Stephen Miller shortly after the shooting, before anybody could have gotten any on-scene information, that he was a terrorist.
Again, that was so unprofessional. Does not follow protocol and is not indicative of someone heading an agency at all. I can say that, ladies and gentlemen, because at one time, and I put these receipts up, and I may do this again this weekend. I'll have to gather a lot of things. I haven't totally gotten settled, and a lot of things are everywhere, but I used to work at the Department of Homeland Security years ago. As a matter of fact, I began my career there 2 months prior to 9/11, and I actually manned the Situation Room and received an award for that. So a lot of you all chit-chatting and making your ugly little remarks when it comes to me. Like I said, some of you, not all of you, I'm sure some of you have had rewarding careers, and I applaud you for that. But never judge because you don't know. You don't know me, nor what I've done and what I do now. But I absolutely have plenty of receipts. Now, fun fact, for those of you who may want to do a little bit of research, before it was called the Department of Homeland Security, it was called, and you can still, in some areas, especially in Washington, D.C., there's still a few of these trucks that you may see outside. It was called the Federal Protective Service, or FPS, and we were at the Navy Yard. They've since changed that, but it was located at 3rd and M Streets. 3rd and M Street, Washington, D.C. Again, this was way back in the 2000s. So, yeah, I have a little bit of experience to speak on certain things. Let's be clear on that. Okay. Let's continue to listen to Adam Mockler.
Sort of judgment is that for somebody who's running a very consequential, important organization? And I haven't even talked about the C and D in failing grades that she's getting on the Helene response. Kristi Noem getting eviscerated by a Republican senator there. Let me point out how abnormal it is for a Republican who voted to confirm Kristi Noem to then come out and say, wait a minute, Kristi Noem needs to be terminated and removed immediately. But even Thom Tillis, even this Republican senator, has trouble with the blame game. He blames Stephen Miller. He blames Kristi Noem. He says they lied to the president, essentially, about this person being a terrorist. No, it is all of their fault, but Donald Trump is the president. Stephen Miller is higher up in the chain than Kristi Noem. I could believe that Kristi Noem was just repeating what Stephen Miller said, but that does not mean that Kristi Noem is out. Then Thom Tillis said Kristi Noem should be fired. When asked if he has confidence in her, Tillis replied, not at all. Moments after, the largest federal employee union called for Noem and Stephen Miller to resign. Wow. The American Federation of Government Employees, the largest federal employee union, which also represented Alex Preddy, issued a statement Monday night calling for the resignations of DHS Secretary Kristi Noem and Deputy White House Chief of Staff Stephen Miller.
So, for the entire video, please visit Adam Mockler. Again, Adam Mockler. Earlier, this came out as another Republican.
It happened again. It's why I
this is Jack Cocciarella. And I said this in another chat earlier, but another Republican congressman has called it quits. So I'm going to advance this a little bit and get to the meat and potatoes. Vern Buchanan. Trump just endorsed him again, I believe, in November, and Vern was like, I'm done. He's 74 years old, so congratulations, Vern. Get your rest, because you don't want to be in this mess. Let's continue.
Who has served southwestern Florida for 20 years, said on Tuesday that he would pass the torch and begin a new chapter in my life. I came to Congress to solve problems. You didn't. fight for working families, you're a Republican, so you didn't. And to help ensure this country remains a place where opportunity is available to anyone willing to work for it, again, you're a Republican, so don't buy that. Buchanan was first elected to Congress in 2006, and I don't really care about his background, so we're just going to skip a little part of this article. What matters, though, is that Buchanan adds to a growing list of Republicans who have declined to seek re-election heading into the 2026 midterms, after former MAGA darling, Representative.
Makes you kind of wonder why all of this mischief and mayhem is going on. Because remember what President Donald Trump said. And I'm going to make sure you remember. So I'm going to just let it loop.
You got to win the midterms. Because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be, I mean, they'll find a reason to impeach me. You got to win the midterms. Because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be, I mean, they'll find a reason to impeach me. You got to win the midterms. Because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be, I mean, they'll find a reason to impeach.
Bro, we broke up with you for a reason. Donald Trump is like an old boyfriend who you broke up with, but he just won't go away. Bro, we broke up.
And we are back. We are back with breaking news. Breaking news, courtesy of MS Now. And you're going to be listening to Minnesota official Ellison on the tragedy. And the title of this is, again, Unconfirmed Reports. I have to say that to be prudent and responsible. But the title of this video, again, you can find this on MSN Now, is entitled, Supreme Court Removes ICE Cops from 10 Blue States in a Unanimous Ruling. Now, they have a question mark and then an exclamation point. So, again, this is unconfirmed and it may not be anything, but let's listen to Mr. Ellison. Again, this is breaking news.
Or agents, whether that's civilly or criminally.
Well, we're already in litigation with them, and but that's not unusual for us to talk about things that are subject to litigation. I mean, right now we're suing Kristi Noem because of what I believe is a unconstitutional, illegal surge in the form of Operation Metro Surge, going from what is basically somewhere around 100 ICE agents to cover a 5-state area to somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 to cover only Minnesota, and the coercive nature of this. And that's a lawsuit we're in with them right now. But I still think that should not preclude us talking. You know, we're open to the dialogue.
Let me show you what the president said when asked about whether this federal agent killing of Alex Freddie was justified.
That Alex Freddie's death was justified.
Well, you know what? Doing a big investigation. I want to see the investigation. I'm going to be watching over it. I want a very honorable and honest investigation. And I have to see it myself.
Well, what we did last Saturday night is we went to court and asked the judge for a temporary restraining order to preserve, protect, and to prohibit the federal government from destroying or altering evidence. We got that temporary restraining order, and we were in court yesterday at 2 p.m. to argue that motion, and and the court still has that under advisement.
And you know, so look, is your view that that's like a jump ball, or the feds are breaking the law?
Clearly, I think the feds are breaking the law, but let me tell you. So I'm glad to hear the president say what he just said, because on the first homicide, Renee Good, we were told that the state investigators had no role and could play no part in the investigation. You saw the president, vice president, and Kristi Noem exonerate Jonathan Ross and blame her for domestic terrorism. And then we saw the Todd Blanche at DOJ, #2, say that there was no investigation that DOJ Civil Rights was going to do. And then 10 assistant U.S. attorneys quit because they were doing no investigation in Renee Good's case. So then there's another shooting.
Y'all are falling apart. I think it's laughable. Poetic justice.
Of a man in North Minneapolis who survived. And then this happens with Mr. Preddy. So we didn't waste any time. We went straight to court to preserve evidence. We're not going to have faith in the system twice and be turned away and then not act on the third time. So now that the president is saying, okay, an investigation, I'm like, good. Do a joint investigation on all 3 of these cases and others that may be there.
And with regard to what your office knows, do you know the names of the agents who killed Mr. Preddy? Do you know where they are?
I at this point, Ari, I don't have reliable enough information to repeat on television.
Yeah, and I understand that, and you have a job to do. There are reports that at least one of the key agents was already removed from Minneapolis. Is there veracity to that, and is that concerning?
That is what I heard. I don't have independent.
I'm going to say this. I believe they already know. Absolutely, they know. It's all in the body language. They know, and how gingerly that they're speaking around it.
Verification of it, and it is deeply concerning. I mean, here's the thing: Mr. Preddy was shot multiple times. Your listeners can sit and count the number of gunshots they hear.
For all of you, and there was someone in my comment section, and that's another thing. I've taken screenshots of a lot of things. I just want you all to know that. Who said I actually saw him take his weapon? What video did you see, Mr. Troll? Because Fox News hosts and Republicans want the little ice Barbie with her chewed up face gone. I think a lot of you are wiping pie off your face right now. And it's more coming in the coming days. But I said this a couple of weeks ago.
Somewhere between 10 and 12. And there's every reason to believe that more than one person did that. And so anybody leaving the scene is deeply suspicious, feels like a cover-up, And leaving a scene can be used in cases as consciousness of guilt. And so that's an interesting thing to maintain, to sort of make yourself unavailable if you are a professional law enforcement professional who needs to use deadly force in the course of your job. I would think that you'd say, this is my name, this is my badge number, I'm here to account for my behavior because I believe I was within the law and within my training. That is not what we're seeing.
Do you have reason to believe that the Trump administration, at whatever level, is trying to remove him from the state so that he's not in your jurisdiction?
I can only come to that conclusion. They can prove otherwise by bringing him back to the jurisdiction. I mean, like, I've used the word cover up, and then I've offered, well, if I'm wrong, let the Trump administration come forward.
Absolutely. If you are wrong, let them come forward and prove it. Just like someone we all know said, release the Epstein files. I have nothing to hide. Well, where are the Epstein files and the documentation from the Epstein estate? Crickets.
And disclose the information that.
So you all can go to MS now for the remainder of that. And let's just take another listen to Ice Barbie, Kristi Noem, who again is on the chopping block, if you will, with so many people, politicians, groups calling for her resignation. Let's just take another quick listen to her.
How many United States military veterans have you deported?
Sir, we have not deported U.S. citizens or military veterans.
I don't believe you served in the military. I haven't either, but I think you and I can agree that as Americans, we owe everything to those who have served our country in uniform, particularly those who have served in combat. Do you agree with that?
Sir, I believe that people that are in this United States that are citizens have legal status here.
Madam Secretary, we are joined on Zoom by a gentleman named Sejun Park. He is a United States Army combat veteran who was shot twice while serving our country in Panama in 1989. Like many veterans, he struggled with PTSD and substance abuse after his service. He was arrested in the 1990s for some minor drug offenses, nothing serious. He never hurt anyone besides himself, and he's been clean and sober for 14 years. He is a combat veteran, a Purple Heart recipient. He has sacrificed more for this country than most people ever have. Earlier this year, you deported him to Korea, a country he hasn't lived in since he was 7 years old. Will you join me in thanking Mr. Park for his service to our country?
Sir, I'm grateful for every single person that has served our country and follows our laws.
Can you please tell Mr. Park why you deported him?
Every one of them needs to be enforced.
But you understand that many veterans struggle with PTSD, many veterans struggle with substance abuse challenges. This man took 2 bullets for our country. You have broad authority, by the way, as Secretary, to issue humanitarian parole, to do deferred action. Will you commit to at least looking at Mr. Park's case to see if you can help him find a pathway back to this country that he sacrificed so much for?
I will absolutely look at his case, but I want you
Thank
to remember that
Madam Secretary, the man behind you, please stand up, sir. His name is Jim Brown from Troy, Missouri. He is a Navy combat veteran who served our country in the Gulf War. He's married to a woman named Donna, who came to our country legally from Ireland when she was 11 years old. She has lived here for 48 years. Because of you, Jim's wife Donna has been in prison for the last 4 months. She did not come here illegally, and she has never committed any crime other than writing 2 bad checks totaling $80 10 years ago. She is currently in prison and facing deportation. Ms. Noem, will you thank Mr. Brown for his service to our country?
Thank you, Mr. Brown, for your service to our country.
Now, what possible explanation can there be for locking up his wife for 4 months when she has committed no crime other than writing a couple of bad checks for $80?
Sir, it is not my prerogative, my latitude, or my job to pick and choose which laws in this country get enforced.
You have broad discretion as the secretary. You can issue parole, you can do all kinds of things, but you're choosing not to. Will you commit again to just reviewing Donna's case and reuniting this combat veteran with his beloved wife, who also loves this country?
I will review the case.
Now, Madam Secretary, you've already heard the story of Lance Corporal Alejandro Barranco, the United States Marine veteran who is behind you, who also has two brothers who are United States Marines. Will you thank Lance Corporal Barranco for his service?
Thank you for your service.
His father, Narcisco Barranco, is a landscaper in California who has lived peacefully in our country for 30 years and has no criminal record. Last spring, while he was mowing the lawn at an IHOP, ICE agents tackled him in the street and imprisoned him for weeks. A peaceful, hard-working man who raised 3 sons to be United States Marines. We need men of that character in this country. Again, as Secretary, you have broad discretion. Will you consider Lance Corporal Barranco's father for parole in place to stay in our country, owing to the fact that he has contributed to our country by raising 3 United States Marines?
This is an opportunity to remind everybody that every person that's in this country illegally has an opportunity to voluntarily go home and come back the right way.
He raised 3 United States Marines.
We will facilitate that.
He has been living here peacefully, doing his job for 30 years. You have discretion. You are choosing not to use it. Madam Secretary, you promised America that you would go after the worst of the worst. But these people are not the worst of the worst. A Purple Heart recipient, a military spouse, the father of 3 Marines. And it's not just veterans and military families. You are locking up and deporting children with cancer, mothers with babies in the NICU, United States citizens. There are many problems with your leadership, but the biggest problem is this. You don't seem to know how to tell the difference between the good guys and the bad guys. Go after the bad guys. Go after the terrorists. Do not go after veterans, Marines, children,
Gentleman's
United
time's
States
expired.
Citizens. I yield.
This individual showed up to impede a law enforcement operation and assaulted our officers. They responded according to their training and took action to defend the officer's life and those of the public around him. And I don't know of any peaceful protester that shows up with a gun and ammunition rather than a sign. This is a violent riot when you have someone showing up with weapons and are using them to assault law enforcement officers. When you perpetuate violence against a government because of ideological reasons and for reasons to resist and perpetuate violence, that is the definition of domestic terrorism. This individual who came with weapons and ammunition to stop a law enforcement operation of federal law enforcement officers committed an act of domestic terrorism. That's the facts.
You keep talking, man, and you shut the fuck up.
Bro, we broke up with you for a reason. Donald Trump is like an old boyfriend who you broke up with, but he just won't go away.
You got to win the midterms, because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be, I mean, they'll find a reason to impeach me.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this late night broadcast, Falling Apart. I'm your hostess, Lise. Again, I appreciate each and every one of you. Again, if you would please be so kind to make sure you double tap your screens, or depending upon the device you're listening to, give this a thumbs up. Those of you who may catch the replay, your comments, again, are welcome. Just please be respectful. Again, your thoughts and opinions as to the future of Kristi Noem, Greg Bovino, perhaps Kash Patel, perhaps Todd Lyons, perhaps Stephen Miller. Enjoy the remainder of your evening or perhaps morning, depending upon where you are on the globe. Until next video, please be safe, be well, and be healthier. Bye-bye for now.